Welcome to Getting Intimate with Intimacy. I am Jamie London Wollberg. My pronouns are he, they.
I'm Katie Jayne, she, her.
And I am May. This is a space for deep exploration of the mind, body, and soul connection.
Getting Intimate with Intimacy covers consistent multimedia content spanning all forms of intimacy, from sexual to intellectual, and everything in between.
Our content is created for all beings, bodies, and abilities, age 18 and up.
And it can be enjoyed on YouTube as well as OnlyFans and InsightTimer. The links will be in the description on for our live streams.
We're really looking forward to experiencing the infinite layers of intimacy with you.
And remember, intimacy starts within.
Namaste, everyone. We are back. Evidently, May is not showing up. This is such a Mercury in retrograde scenario. Welcome back to Getting Intimate with Intimacy. This is episode 8. Happy holidays. We are so excited to be here with you. I don't think that May is showing up. May has actually traveled all the way to Africa to do some beautiful, beautiful volunteering, and we're having some tech fun. So it may be myself and KJ, which brings me to introductions. I am Jamie, he, they pronouns.
I'm Katie Jayne, she, her.
And we are getting intimate with intimacy. And today we are going to answer the question, how can I navigate intimacy during the holidays? So many of us have challenges during the holidays. It's a very sensitive subject. It's a sensitive time. And we feel very, very passionate about discussing this and starting really just tipping into the conversation of what intimacy looks like and how to navigate it, how to navigate these challenges. So I am curious, KJ, how do you navigate these? Who do you spend the holidays with? Is it yourself? Is it your family? Is it your friends? What does that mean to you? What does that look like?
So like many of our viewers and listeners, I'm sure, I've had a complicated relationship, with the holidays. I know you have as well, Jamie. And so all of this has changed quite a lot for me over the last 10 years, which I'm excited to dive more into as we get along here. So these days, I've spent a lot of holidays myself, but now that I have an amazing nesting partner, we like to spend it with friends, and we will have his 2 kiddos over. So my bonus kids will be joining us. We get them for their whole winter break. They're 10 and 13 now. So that will be our main focus, is that this unit, as we are still building as a family unit. But of course, we look forward to spending time with friends as we are able as well.
I love that. Yeah, I love that for all of you, and I'm excited for you to be able to have that really wonderful.
It's fun to look forward to, new traditions, or like already joining the traditions that exist, like going to see zoo lights in Phoenix. They love that. We went last year. It was fabulous. And we found out just last week that apparently it's something they really look forward to. So we will be doing that again.
Oh, that's fun. I love things like that. Those nightlight walks. Intimacy during the holidays has always been a tricky one for me, especially because, I've come out a lot of different times and ways, and throughout my health journey, my transition journey, there were a lot of holiday traditions that I either felt pushed out of, or I was, invited to, but was completely unable to. Like, there was distinctly a really not fun memory of it being Thanksgiving, and my parents were hosting, and I was literally bedridden, and I was just in the room, and I could hear all of Thanksgiving happening literally on the other side of my door, because we were in the apartment and my door was closed. Mm-hmm. And that was really painful, obviously, on so many levels. And, it's like, some people don't have families at all. Some people have families that accept them, and some people have families that don't. Some people create their own family, right? The beautiful chosen family is equally as valid. and very special. I think that it's not talked a lot about what it's like to literally be there with your whole family and yet not there. I feel like that's a really unique kind of experience. This year is very special and different because my nuclear family will be together for the first time in a really, 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 really long time.
All of you?
Just us, all of us. Yeah, we're
Mm.
going to the Santa Fe house, and now my brother is married, and so I'm going to get to be there with his sister-in-law is joining us. That's new. My sister is bringing someone home for the first time. Like, it's a huge deal, and I'm going to be navigating being the seventh wheel. It's going to be a new experience altogether. So, whatever your time and your days look like, the holidays is, in my opinion, not one specific day, and it's for you to make it whatever you want to make it, right? Like, I live alone, I'm single right now, I'm watching holiday movies with my cats and talking to them about how silly Lindsay Lohan's and how hot Chad Michael Murray looks now with his long hair. So, if you don't know what I'm talking about and you have Netflix, you better go find out.
We'll find out.
Highly recommend it. Looks like KJ. And so
I haven't watched it yet, but I know what you're talking about.
Oh, you haven't watched it yet?
I'm already the Chad Michael Murray fan for another one that he did.
Oh, look, let's try to bring me. Yay! We did it. Meg, can you hear us? No, still frozen.
Yeah, no, she's struggling with that Wi-Fi abroad.
The Wi-Fi is Wi-Fiing. So yeah, it looks different for everyone. And when you have a challenging experience, and you've had challenging experiences in your holiday, celebrations, what is it that you've done to navigate them and to bring more intimacy in?
Well, that brings up for me, like I said, so I got kicked out, right, as I've established before, by my family almost exactly a decade ago, actually. And so that really fucked up the holidays for me, which were previously my favorite time of year. I lived for Christmas. I love to sing. I love to sing Christmas carols and the music, and being kicked out right at that like very family-centric time of year was extremely traumatizing. And so I was just not in the like a holiday spirit or mood for a good 4 or 5 years, after that. I believe it was 2019 or 2020, I don't remember, where the first time that I felt motivated, I think it was 2019, to get a Christmas tree. And I was living alone. And that was something that I was finally able to do for myself. So I had been, doing the work of getting intimate with myself, healing on my journey, as with seemingly feeling like an orphan in many ways. And so I was treating myself, right? Then I was like, you know what? I've been listening to holiday music again. I'm going to get a tree. I was like low key dating somebody new at that time. And so things were shifting for me in regards to how I felt about the holidays. But that's kind of where it started, is just focusing on self-care. Okay, I'm here with myself for the holidays. What can I do? Oh, now I have somebody else in my circle that I feel like sharing this time of year with, right? And that was actually very special. It was a very sweet time. And I'm grateful for that. And so now, knowing even more about myself as neuro-quirky and neuro-spicy, I think it's just prioritizing, that self-care, maybe alone time if I need to. I did have to do that last year with the kids here. I just had to be like, hey, babe, I need to go to the park. I need a little break. I need me time, and honoring that and normalizing it.
I love that for you. I think it's not a straight line journey, right? Like it's some holidays feel amazing. You're like, wow, that's a really great holiday. Other times it feels really, really challenging. right? And sometimes it's dependent on who you're with because that's what's ingrained in us and that's as humans what feels good. But other times it's not just about that. You can have an amazing holiday by yourself, you know. Um it's about doing the best with what you have and also not putting an immense amount of pressure on yourself and the holidays as well, right?
Yeah.
It's special because we decided it's special, you know. Some of this stuff is of course controversial in terms
Yeah.
of
And what you just said though about pressure, not putting pressure on yourselves, as we shouldn't, any of us, right? Like that's the goal. And it just occurred to me simultaneously that that's one of the things I enjoyed about those years where I wasn't necessarily celebrating. I was like, there's no pressure. I'm here, I'm gonna do me, right? Like it's what is the meaning? And I guess I took some introspective, looking at what is this season about, really. Because you just said it's special because we decided as a society that it is, right? So what do we ascribe value to, and all of those things.
exactly. And I'm by no means saying that there's not value to the holidays. There's
Yeah.
always value in togetherness, in unconditional love, in celebrating
Oh,
gratitude with each other and having fun and doing activities. All of that is great. But these are things that we can do every day
all the
of
time.
our lives, right? And we put so much pressure around utilizing this to boost us back up, to celebrate the end of the year. There's just so many different ways to address the holidays. And, for me, I think a lot of the challenges have been very practical.
Mm.
I wouldn't say that, you know, I mean, when I was really young, I was very lucky that I was, for the briefest period of time, kind of dragged to synagogue and things like that. Which, ironically, I think I would appreciate way more now than I did when I was younger with no direction. I was never, I wasn't, I wouldn't say that I was forced to go to any sort of family gathering. I don't remember kind of fussing that I didn't want to go until it came time to my transition and everyone in the family reacted differently and I was like, um, what am I going to be doing to celebrate the holiday um when I don't feel welcome, right? When I don't feel like I'm going to have a positive experience and it's going to impact everyone else because a lot of the contention in my family was between myself and the matriarch of the entire family. And that went on for 5 years or so. And so it, you know, I remember very well the first holiday that I got back together with the whole family. And it was like I could feel the tension because it was almost as if, like, looking back on it, I wonder how many people bet on what the end result of the experience was going to be, and me coming back and being around her and how we would get along and how that would impact everybody. And I'm really grateful that I went through all of that and that everything ended up okay because even though it was awkward and even though I had to face an incredible amount of emotional pain during that process, that was a huge transformation breakthrough of how I saw my grandmother, how I saw my family, how I saw myself. And I found a way to quietly stand up for myself by showing up and being, I don't like the phrase the bigger person, but I can't think of anything right now else. So I'm going to put major air quotes, by showing up and being like, you know what, I'm going to start to forgive you. I'm going to make an effort to forgive you and to move on. If I had not done that, I would have lost the last few amazing years with my grandmother who became better at my pronouns than anyone else in my family.
Mm.
So it goes to show you that sometimes it can get healed. And sometimes it means you deciding, I want things to be better, and I'm going to step forward and I'm going to create that intimacy. And it can be little by little. Like, I don't think I said anything outside of happy holidays and a hug during that event,
Mhm.
but that's what I could do at the time.
Right.
And, we do the best with what we
Yeah.
can, what we have, you
Yeah,
know?
for sure. I'll respond. Um, and as as in many things, we have a lot of similarities, Jamie, and because my struggles with my family intimately and similarly yet differently. So the first time that I was back around my family at the holidays was not my choice. Okay. So I said, like, I had just started to get back, into the holiday spirit, going into 2020. And then at the end of 2020 in November, my dad got the diagnosis of brain cancer. And I was grateful, like, for the amount of healing that I had already done for myself, around my family, right? And then I don't recall if I've mentioned this before, but when we got that diagnosis, I had a choice, as we have many choices in life. And for me, at that point, it felt like the choice was I could choose to remain in a lower vibration of fear, anger, resentment, around the whole family, or I could sit down and do some inner child healing so that I could show up in love in his final chapter. Because regardless of his human, limitations in this lifetime, I never doubted that he loved me as a father. He did tell me that. He just wasn't very good at showing it beyond that, right? Or connecting emotionally to anybody. And that's his journey. But so I was invited to Thanksgiving at my oldest brother's house, and I had not seen the kids in like almost 8 years. So showing up in those circumstances with the heaviness of the cancer diagnosis anyways, hanging over us, but like everybody tiptoeing around it, pretending like there wasn't something wrong with dad. It was super awkward for me. And I just felt more of an outsider. Like, this is technically my family, comma. However, I don't feel connected. I just feel like more of an outsider. The children are grown. The only one who's paying attention to me is the youngest, who was, I think, 4 or 5 at that time. So she was just being a curious toddler, right, and talking to whoever would have her attention. So to me, that really hurt, because I loved being an auntie so much when they were little, right? And then I was forcefully disconnected. So that was a very weird and strange time. And of course, both 2020 and 2021, I was with my family at the holidays, but just kind of more out of obligation. I mean, things felt better in 2021, like between my mom and I. But again, that's because I had been doing my own personal work of self-care and healing to be able to show up. And so, like you said, Jamie, I was there. Did I say much? No, I didn't. I was there. I was there kind of on the periphery, feeling all of my feelings, and definitely not going to talk to them about it. But I talked to other supportive people in my life to help me, process and get through that. So it's definitely been a journey, and it changes, and it's allowed to change. And I'm really happy to hear, like in your case, that you had that healing with your grandmother, because that's so precious. And I did have healing with my father before he passed.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing and acknowledging. And, you know, it's incredibly challenging what you experience, but what I really heard from your share was that you made choices to empower yourself and to make the change, and you did it at the pace that you needed to. And the key that I think we've both discussed is self-care, right? Whether you're spending time during the holiday season alone, or whether you are spending it with a large group of people or a small group of people, whoever it is, self care is required so that way you can fill your cup, so that you can process your own emotions, even the wonderful emotions, right? Like when I get beautifully overwhelmed, right? Like if something is very heartwarming to me,
Right.
right, or something like that may activate other things within me, and there's processing around that as well, right? And there's no right or wrong way to practice or to do self-care. I know for me, right, some of you who are listening, watching this knows, KJ knows, like I have a very strong routine that I do every rising. And when I'm about to have a day where I'm going to be with family, where I'm going to be in a situation where challenges may arise, I may feel triggered by something, even unintentionally. Right? Like, even though things are amazing right now, it's like, well, for example, my grandmother has transitioned off this plane a couple of years ago, and there are several of us that get very emotional during the holidays still not having her there, and how big of a hole that feels. And the
Mm.
fact that when she was alive, everyone was very much more close together. She was like, we're all going to be together for this holiday. And now, as people get older and they split off and build their families,
Mm.
then it becomes more challenging for everyone to be together, which is part of why, even though I'm going to be the seventh wheel, I am looking forward to this trip, because I don't know how many more times it will ever look like that. And even though we may have other times where we'll be together, it will still be different, right? Like, and even though it will be amazing when there are perhaps littles or other people, or I bring another person, that dynamic of the seven of us that's never gonna be the same in
No,
that
right.
situation.
It's a core experience. Yeah.
It's a core, yes, that's well said. It's a core experience. So in terms of actual practices, what is it that you do in order to make sure that you're filling your cup and bringing yourself intimacy before you even go to build intimacy with others during holidays?
Well, it's been interesting because as we've been talking, I've been thinking about just that concept that you just touched on of when you're overcome with a positive emotional response, right? It can absolutely bring up less pleasant triggers or emotions, but that actually can tie all together into self-care. Because for me, right, I spent years not engaging in anything holiday related, which was a key part of what I loved. It was something that was part of my personality, right? For so long, for the majority of my life. So I have enjoyed these last couple of years indulging, some might say, in watching Hallmark movies or some of like the holiday movies on Netflix. And often they make me super emotional. Hello. First of all, we know I'm a sucker for a love story. Surprise. Secondly, I have all of this trauma and mixed experience with my family in the holidays. So sometimes seeing, warm, heart loving, like unconditionally loving families together in any setting, but especially at the holidays, sensitive time, can be overwhelming. Like I feel the positive joy and emotions for them, sure, right? Because that's the point. A good storytelling is going to get you in the feels, right? And because I do believe that we need more of those examples, right? We are both here for unconditional love, right? To bring more of that to the planet and to support that frequency and experience for more and more humans. And it hasn't been our experience, right? So it's very complex, kind of like dance, because like I know what I'm getting into when I turn the movie on. I'm fully aware that all of these things will be, coursing through me, but it feels good too. And at the end of the whole thing, it's a chance for me to reflect inward and I end up feeling gratitude, one way or the other, because it's reflective, to sit, and say, wow, I've come a long freaking way on my journey. I'm so grateful for where I am now. I'm so grateful for my awareness of myself, for my choice to move forward in love instead of like going to the dark side, which many people in my with my experience could have done. And I'm grateful for all the love and support that I do have, both virtually, even though now I like with Lee, even, we're in a rebuilding phase, and yes, we'll have the kiddos, but we don't have a huge outside community yet. And, and our friends will be leaving for the holidays. The ones that we do have and consider, soul family here, are going to be traveling and stuff to spend time with their family. And of course, I don't hold that against anybody. I want you to be happy always, especially at the holidays. And so it's just kind of that dance of finding the joy, of course, finding the gratitude, and honoring the other emotions, right? And letting them flow. And we've talked about before, as emotions, you don't want to bottle that stuff up. So if it flows out in tears, if it flows out in like laughing until we cry, like whatever it is, just honoring the ebb and flow.
Mm-hmm. I love what you said. I'm really grateful that you brought up the holiday movies and tied all of that together. I resonate, and yeah, I think that there is an ebb and a flow. Something that helps you to feel good one year may not the next year. It's all circumstantial because it's gonna pull on the heartstrings of something, right? If when the movies and things like that, like there's just starting to come out like holiday movies with queer people in it, right? Like, there's not a lot of media that has celebrations. Like, I'm even trying to think offhand, like I can think of maybe one or two shows where there was celebration of a holiday that had some trans people in it, and it wasn't just purely centered around the fact that they're trans. Even that, even if it was centered around being trans, I don't remember really seeing that, let alone even just queer people. There's a Hallmark movie that's relatively new that has a gay male couple and they adopt a child in it. And I was like, okay, Hallmark, thank you for start. Okay, let's go. Like, I feel like I'm cheering you on to like, let's take the next step. It's getting there. But it's wild that it's about to be 2025, and for many of us we're like, are we really still here dealing with this? For me, my self-care and preservation really comes down to my spiritual practices, making sure that, like KJ was saying earlier, communicating with other people, so like having my phone by me and excusing myself for a while to call a friend or to text with someone and be like, hey, like, do you have a minute? I'm having a really tough time. This and that happened. Or, journaling or stepping outside and smoking a joint. I mean, like, whatever I need to do to get myself, um, through the process with a little bit more joy. And I think, use the word indulgence. And I think that is a word that can get a bad rap. And at the same time, when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to the holidays, indulging in a way is another word of like, I'm all in, right? And I think that like when we think about indulging, there's usually an association of imbalance. And I think that actually it's not talked about really, that sometimes to rebalance requires or welcomes some indulgence.
Yes.
When your tank is really, really, really empty, right? Like if I was hiking for hours and something happened to my food and I get lost, whatever, and then it's been many hours and I haven't eaten, and I come up across a bakery, am I going to fuss about eating a bunch of donuts? No. I'm gonna be like, are these gluten and dairy free? Great. Nom, 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 right? Because I am starving, right? Like everything is circumstantial. I'm refilling the cup. The holidays is a time where societally we say like, oh, well, we can have more. And the reality is we can take the energy of having more and desiring more into every single day. So I think that the actual actions and practices that we take may be unique for everyone. But whether you need to take time alone, whether you need to connect with someone who you feel safe with, whether you need to steal that extra cookie, whether it is that you know, need to be the first person to open a present under the tree. Maybe you need a hug or a
Mhm.
conversation with a family member who you do resonate with.
Yeah.
You know, what
Or
what
maybe just extra rest, maybe saying no to an obligation, to an invitation or something like that, right? And giving them the word that's been coming up that I haven't said yet is grace. Like, it's so important to give yourself and others grace during this time, but mostly yourself, especially if you know you're neurospicy, or you know you're bound to be triggered, or you know yourself. So also to have that grace and compassion, like, I might be showing up differently day to day. This is an interesting time of year, right? So let's just see how it goes. Back to the ebb and flow concept, right? And then allowing yourself, if need be, to say no, or to have those boundaries of, actually, I thought I was going to be able to make it, but I woke up this morning, I have no spoons. I'll see you next time. And then I'm going to sit here and watch a holiday movie and eat ice cream and be okay with that, and not judge myself one way or the other either.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's really a matter of checking in with yourself first. And, for example, for me, if I'm going to have, you know, a lot of family time, right, for these 2 weeks where I'm going to have less alone time. I mean, certainly less than like living in my own space and being able to not talk to anyone if that's what I want to do, kind of thing, right? Like, it's even just noise level things that stimulate me a lot. I'm going to be spending 2 weeks in that. And
Mhm.
so I know for me, I need to be very mindful, right? I've been winding down my year. So that way, before I go there, I'm not tapped out. Especially, like, I know that traveling stresses me the fuck out, and it's very, very stimulating. One of my Beats pods just totally disappeared. The cat's probably used a hockey puck, and so now I don't have my like number one tool to shield me from stimulation in the world, noise canceling. If you're neurospicy, you get it potentially. And so I'm doing what I need to do, right? And it's sort of like an allowing yourself to be all hands on deck and being okay with feeding your needs, and that's again something to bring in every day. So if there's anything that you take away from our conversation today, I feel like if May was here, she would echo this, is to honor yourself, flow within where things are, and take the knowledge that you gain from the intimacy that you receive and the intimacy that you provide and the intimacy that you don't receive into your day to day. Take that knowledge in, process it, and be like, oh, wow, actually, I'm a really big hugger. Or, oh, wow, I feel much more cheerful when I have a cookie and I listen to this holiday song. Or, oh, wow, this movie is something that I can't watch anymore because it's just too painful right now. You
Yeah.
know, I need to stay home. I need to go out with friends. The older you get, the easier it is, right? When you're little, it doesn't feel like you have a choice, right? It doesn't feel like you have a choice, which is unfortunate because, circumstances are challenging. I think that preparing ahead of time in families with littles could allow to have more autonomy for the kiddos, right? Like, if you,
Absolutely agree.
as a teenager, I feel like looking back, if I, was a teenager and I was like, I'm not going to have fun and I'm going to be, very unhappy and outwardly unhappy if I'm there, can, we make different arrangements? Like, I feel like looking back, if I were to parent myself, I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, you want to stay home? Stay home,
Right.
kind of thing. And, everyone's going to have their own feelings about it.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of ridiculous if you look at it. We've all seen this in movies and gone like, "Oh my goodness!" When the parents are like, "You're gonna come no matter what, and we're gonna have a good time." Like, that's not gonna work if your teen is in a funk. Like, hello, right?
Yeah, which is of course shown in every
And
movie,
then, yeah,
almost every movie,
nothing
except
goes well.
yeah, except for some of them where they get cheered up, and they move forward, and that's always great to see. Anything is really possible but there's so much that we can learn from our experiences with intimacy during the holidays. And some of us are lucky that we get to feel fulfilled in our intimacy. And so, KJ, I wonder, for you, what intimacy would you like to experience during the holidays that you aren't already or that you haven't, given your experiences of, like you said, not being able to indulge in a lot of the blatant holiday festivities, if you will, growing up?
Hmm. Well, I would love more of like a family feeling, like whether that's with Lee's extended family or just our, extended family and friends. It doesn't have to be like on the day. Again, like if we had a larger community, say where there was people here physically and that were not traveling and we had the option. So again, not necessarily on the holiday days themselves, but around there. I have had wonderful Friendsgiving experiences in the past when I was single. Is just more of that family unit. I mean, my future vision of living communally, so with other adults and therefore families. And you and I have listened to the same podcast recently where there's an amazing, inspirational blended family living, 5 adults and a toddler. Hashtag goals, dreams, right? So that's something that I continue to hold the vision for and look forward to experiencing in the future, is having more of a communal adult family and with kids of different ages and stuff, because I do miss being an auntie. I love the babies. I'm not ready to have any of my own for another couple of years. So that's just kind of something I'd love to experience again, is that kind of a family with all the different ages and things going on, or in that kind of gathering and community. And I'd love to experience more love, some cute first dates, a new partner, something like that. So
I resonate. I love that for you. And I'm manifesting and holding the space for it. And if you're listening and watching this, I'm manifesting whatever it is that you desire in terms of more intimacy. And let us know in the comments, as we're answering to these questions, feel free to answer them. And we'll be touching base with you in a little bit. But I resonate very much. I want to have more of a family feeling. It's not that I've never had it. I feel like something that is true probably for a lot of people who are gender nonconforming, trans, non-binary, all in the spectrum of that. You know, not being your authentic self for so many different familial events and things like that, and then finally coming in your authentic self. And that's not just true for this specific community. There are other aspects to me that were masked, right? So anyone who's masked, but really being able to be my full authentic self and feel unconditionally loved and desired to be there. I definitely desire less fighting type battles, things that happen. Of course, this could be a TV show, these 2 weeks that we're going to be together. I'm sure. But I'm manifesting and setting the intention and bringing about the best self of myself, right? If we can all bring ourselves to our best self, then we have a better chance of all having a wonderful time. But, especially being the 7th wheel, it has been probably a decade since I had a significant person in my life to bring to a family holiday event. And I would love to have, a couple of partners where I feel like everyone is welcome and I don't have to pick who is going to come and who is not going to come, that just everyone is welcomed and it's just totally integrated. And that my inner child just said, like, have the feeling of like having what everyone else has. But I think that what it comes down to is like, I don't want to live in that energy. I want to live in the energy of I am worthy of being surrounded by unconditional love during the holiday season and on any season and day.
yes.
And I want to feel integrated into the family the same way everyone else is by being just treated equally.
Yeah, totally valid. And I am also loving and holding that vision for you. Yes, yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Yes. Yeah. KJ and have been planning. We want to have like a whole plot of land and the whole thing. Yeah. We really bow down to that quad, don't we?
Yeah. Last question, real quick, before we get
Yeah.
into comments. What are ways to experience intimacy during the holidays if you're with yourself? I mean, I feel like we've covered some really good options. Anything else that comes to mind for you?
That's true. Um, I mean, I would just say, like, simply put, do what makes you happy. If you want to fuck around and find out, fuck around and find out. If you want to, um, have time of pleasure, make it a time of pleasure. If you want to take, a spiritual journey, you want to take some psilocybin. I've totally had holidays where I'm like, well, I'm by myself. I'm going to go into a deep dive journey, take some psilocybin and have a ceremony for myself. Um, if you want to take yourself out on dates, like just because you're by yourself for the holiday does not mean you are stuck into the confined walls of your living space. Like feel free to go and do your thing. Maybe you've spent many years with a family where it's always like their way or the highway of what they do, and maybe there's a tradition that you've always wanted to do and participate in that you weren't able to.
Go do
You know,
that.
go do that. Exactly. What
Love
about
it.
you, KJ? Is there
Well,
something?
let's not forget from our last conversation, self-pleasure. Like, I spent lots of holiday time doing that myself. And I think ongoing. So a lot of the things we've talked about are relevant whether you are with groups of people or you are by yourself. But, so again, even if, so the scenario, like, Jamie, you said you're going to be in a completely different setting for a couple of weeks, right? And I'm sure that you will find time to be with yourself because that's an important thing for you of self-care. So that goes for anybody else. We out here and we sexy and you got to get sexy with yourself. So that's again one of the base like self-intimacy, things that we've talked about on multiple levels. And that is a great way of self-regulating and releasing all the happy hormones, to balance out, especially if you are stressed. So
Absolutely. I want to point out one more thing that I had forgotten, which is really, really key, especially if you're not with yourself, but even if you're just with yourself. Setting and figuring out your boundaries for what you're going to do if something doesn't go the way that you want it to, all the way through everything is going amazing, but I still need space, and then communicating that ahead of time.
mm,
So, for example, I've been cleaning house. What I mean by that is I have been having individual interactions with my family to ensure that our bonds are as healed as possible before we get there. I had a conversation with my mom to be like, okay, there's a lot of family things on the calendar. I'm excited about these things, but like, you know, I'm not going to have a space like some of you that's going to be as private, like the space where I'm going to be residing because of the dynamics and me being the solo one. I'm going to be in the least private spot on the property. And
mm,
so I had a conversation of, okay, am I going to be allowed to go off by myself? Is that going to be respected? This is something that I'm going to need. And I was told, there's no pressure. Everything is pretty much optional, and like, yeah, if you need to take time, go take time kind of thing. So that's something that's important, and that can't come from other people. And
right.
that can't, like, you can't just expect people to read your mind of
Wow.
what it is that you need, right? And, things do happen during the holidays, especially the longer amount of time that you spend with people. Why? Because just life happens,
Yeah.
right? Like life just happens. And we are going to be coming out of, there's still going to be the shadow of
Mercury.
Mercury in retrograde, I think, until the 30th or 31st of December. And so, thankfully, we're all going to start the new year with it direct. But in the meantime, right, like all of these kinds of things, car things, tech things, this and the other, there are a lot of things that are at play. So I would encourage you very much to sit with yourself and maybe even write down a list of what are the things that you need, what are the things that you're going to do for yourself if a challenge arises. Who do you need to talk to make the dynamic the best case scenario before you go? Who do you feel safe to talk to and share your boundaries with to make sure that they're going to be honored? Because I feel way better going into this trip knowing that I did those things. Because if I hadn't, I already know. I knew what it was going to all be like, right? So this is something that you can definitely do, and I encourage you to empower yourself to do it.
To help manage expectations.
Absolutely. But let's get to comments, KJ.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of them. Okay, I'm just gonna scroll up. We'll start bringing them up. Welcome, Alice was excited.
So good to see you again, Alice. Right. No more Mercury retrograde. Gemini full moon will push it right out. Cheers to that.
100%. And welcome, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. Thanks for watching. Alice says, this will be my first holiday season where my kids will be with the co-parent and I'll be alone. It's going to be a major time to tap into self-love and intimacy with me. Absolutely. Well, good timing then for this conversation, right? I've been there. That's very relatable to why I'm a co-parent and not a spouse anymore. I was single last holiday season too, but I had the kids to keep me busy, right? But if you're keeping busy, right, that can be a distraction, right, on a certain level. Or you can allow it to be a distraction and an excuse not to tap into the self-care. So even though it's a big shift and a change for you, Alice, I feel like this is a really good opportunity for you. I'm glad that you're going to have that self-care time.
Yeah, 100%.
And honor, all the feelings.
Yes, and you know where to find me.
I'm hearing self-care baths. So like whatever makes you feel like a queen, do a little mix of Epsom salt and sea salt for cleansing and relaxing. And then whatever essential oils like you love. You're like, this makes me feel like a queen. I love rose oil. I have gardenia, any of the flowery scents when I'm in the mood for a pampering bath. You could even add a little milk and honey into the water. If you have a bathtub. If not, find a friend with a bathtub.
100%. I was just looking for the answer to her next question, which was, so first of all, I want to clarify, it's not like it's not like Viking length, but yeah, it's definitely longer. I mean, for those who were a Chad Michael Murray fan for like a really long time, he usually had like very buzzed hair or short hair, and he looks like, I wouldn't say a different person, but like it's doing it for me.
Lumberjack Chad Michael Murray.
Yeah. So she wanted to know what the movie is called, so that's what I was just looking up. So the movie is called The Merry Gentleman, and highly recommend.
Merry. Merry.
10 stars. 10 stars. 10
it's on my list. I haven't watched it yet.
10 stars. That's what I will say. No spoilers, but what you can know is that Chad Michael Murray is participating in men doing sort of a Magic Mike situation. It's holiday theme. It's delicious. You're gonna enjoy it. So some of these were out of context, so it's challenging to bring up. Here we go.
So if you know any trans holiday movies, let me know the names later, Jamie. Yes.
Gosh, I don't know that I do. But so I actually toss it back to you if you find any, and anybody else who's listening.
You mentioned too with the gay couple. Do you know which one that was? You can look it up later and get it to her.
Yeah. Hammer Channel holiday movie with gay male couple. It'll come right up. It was The Christmas House. Oh, there's a second one? Oh my god.
Watch out.
I'm gonna have to watch the second one now. Okay.
What platform?
This is Hallmark. I watched them on Netflix, so I don't know if Netflix bought Hallmark, but all of the Hallmark movies
there's some
on Netflix now. So yes. Also, I just found a link for a list of LGBTQ plus Hallmark movies. So I'm gonna drop this in the chat here as well. Yes, make extra cookies.
Yes. And yes, it's like people getting mad about kids wanting to hang out in the room when the house is full of people. Right, absolutely. That's like, not honoring their boundaries. Like, you let that kid enjoy the holidays so much more if you allow them to take their space, not shame them for it. Love that coming from you, Alice, who has had teenagers, obviously.
What podcast? That's the podcast that I had shared with you, Alice. It's normalizing. Yeah. Normalizing non-monogamy. Yes. I got it right. For those who don't know, I always screw up how to say it, even though I listen to it religiously. Okay.
Yes, we are a communal species, and I'm very aligned with that. Awesome. Oh.
Oh, okay. Yes, we can see it. I didn't read it in time. This is May.
May comments. May says, I would love to experience more deep connection and love rather than following altogether somewhat empty traditions for many. Totally support that. Family should feel like home always, not pressure to be in any certain way. Respectful, loving, supportive, festive. Yes. Yes, we're here for the chosen family vibes.
Oh yeah, we are monitoring the chat, but we've decided that if I respond to the chat while you're all chatting, that I'm not present with the conversation. So
right, and then we're doing our best to monitor for less awesome folks. May adds, also would love to live in a community in the future with people from all places and ages and interests. Yes, this is a common vision for us. Alice says, totally agree. Lots of love from Tanzania for everyone. Yay, May. We love that you
were here.
We are so
grateful. Tried.
Alice says, oh, yes, it is a good opportunity for sure. I've been putting in the work, and it will be about my energy. This is my family's gift to me. Oh, we love that for you. Yay.
We love that for you. Absolutely. Yes. Check my summary. Oh, yeah, she gets on the list. Okay, awesome. Glad that the list is good. Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. This was our last stream of the year, and as we have learned with the experimentation of trying to get May on the call while she's in Tanzania, or on the stream, we were trying to get her on the call earlier too. It is a challenge, so we're going to figure out when the next stream is going to be, but it's most likely going to be in late January or potentially the first weekend of February, but stick around. Follow us on OnlyFans. We have started to put up content. We just released a very sexy holiday album. So if you are interested in seeing some really, really fun, intimate photos with myself and KJ and May, then you definitely want to go there. But we have all the episodes there. I put out a poem that I recently wrote and recorded, me reading as well. There's more content, so we're going to be blasting content to the OnlyFans. We don't yet have anything on InsightTimer, but my InsightTimer is still there and around. You definitely want to make sure that you're tapping into our website link, which I'm scrolling down here. This is our current website page that has links to all the places. YouTube, we always have our stream and we've organized everything now. So if you are like, oh no, I missed an episode, you can go back and find it way easier now and engage. And we will definitely be responding to any and all of your comments there. And otherwise, we love you unconditionally. And remember,
intimacy
starts
within. Namaste.
Happy holidays. We'll see you next time.
Much love.